Kawhi Leonard, who has conclusively proven that publicity and ambition are not the same thing. Bomani, we now know that Leonard demanded Paul George in order to join the Clippers, who had to go get George from the Thunder, who then got back more than any team ever had for anyone. 5 first-round picks, 4 of them unprotected, 2 pick swaps, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and also Danilo Gallinari for good measure. So Bomani, what do you make of how Kawhi silently re-engineered the NBA?
That I tried to tell y'all that y'all don't know nothing about this dude, and stop assuming that just because somebody doesn't talk that there's some personality traits underneath that you have gleaned that may not exist. Now, this move that he made is interesting because Paul George is not the first person he called. He tried to get Kevin Durant on board with this before that. He bounced around a couple other things. He winds up getting to Paul George. Probably the perfect choice because Paul George is a number 2. But stop and think about how bold this is. He hits Paul George up and says, look, I want to play with you. And Paul George says, I want to play with you too. And he's like, cool. Well, go tell your boss that you're trying to get up out of there and then come holler at me. And they did this with nobody knowing until it was done.
The NBA is full of alleged insiders. The NBA internet is full of people who love to make predictions. No one predicted this. And the thing about the power play that you just mentioned is that he ran it on the most powerful player in the history of the NBA in LeBron James. That to me is what's so crazy about the events that you just outlined. He rejected LeBron, he used LeBron for leverage, he handicapped LeBron, and at the end of it he said, I'm going to come into your house, LeBron, and hunt you. I want to turn you into the New York Mets. That's the ambition.
Do you think he's thinking about it that much? Because once again, because he does not talk, you were then putting this on him like this huge story that's there. I don't even know if it's necessarily that deep. I do think that it's crowded in LA at the Lakers, right? Like I said from the beginning, there's no way I thought that he was going to sign up to be the number 3 guy in this setup. The idea of this being a power play really tells us how little power players actually have in every other sport. Because what did he really do? He walked up to the Clippers and said, hey, why don't you make yourself good enough to win a championship? And I have an idea of how you can do that. What's absurd is the idea that Kawhi Leonard would have to walk up with that idea rather than them having that idea themselves. Are these power plays or are these simply plays of competence?
Well, it's a power play because Paul George was under contract for 2 years. The idea that the Clippers should have gone and found someone else to join him, totally reasonable and logical. That is exactly what every superstar should want. Someone else to play alongside them of a similar magnitude. But the idea that he said to the Clippers, hey, you're a smart organization, you've built a bright future for yourselves. I want that future gone and I want it replaced by Paul George. That is the power play. That the present is that much more important.
But my point is that if you're signing Kawhi Leonard, then of course the present is more important, right? Like you got to know that off the rip once you make the decision that you're going to bring a dude like that in. Like I think it's cool that he managed to pull this off, but it wasn't power that got Paul George out of Oklahoma City. It was common sense. It was the Thunder looking around and realizing we're not that good. We're not going to get that good. We can probably do more by moving this dude. You see what I mean? So like I get the idea that people are like, oh, Kawhi really flexed on this. I think what he did was look around and be like, hey, I got something that serves everybody as opposed to this is what I'm going to make you do.
The Clippers should have done exactly what they did. I agree with that completely. You need to go and maximize the present. But the question is, at what price? The question is, what was the marketplace that Kawhi Leonard found and then engineered? Because when he said, I want Paul George, what he needed to also do to say to the Clippers was, you know what I might do? I might go to the Lakers. I might go to the Raptors. I might do other stuff, which means that he was building a marketplace in a way that flexed his own power.
But I'm saying the market was there. Like all these things exist without him having to do that. The guy who flexed was Sam Presti, who somehow pulled all of that out of Paul George. That seemed to be a bigger flex to me than Kawhi Leonard.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.